This is a continuation of the episode done on the Hermetics. The idea I got watching Manly P. Hall presenting the Hermetics and the Hermetic teaching. You can find online that Hermetic teaching says that universe is mental. Everything is mental, meaning the universe and every creation in it is consciousness in one state or another, higher or lower. Everything is mental. Universe is mental. But when we today examine our brains, we see that it is actually electricity. So back in the day, they didn't know that it is electricity, but they knew it was mental. Today we can call it electricity or plasma, better yet. There are four states of matter: liquid, solid, gas and plasma. And plasma has three modes. It has a dark mode, that is when you don't see it. It has a glow mode, that is when it ionizes some gas and it glows in the color of that gas. And there is an arc. In a thunderstorm, when the thunder strikes, you see an arc, that is plasma. But what you see is much less than what is really going on. When you see the strike, that is only the end. If you were able to see, you will see like a storm, like a spiral, like a vortex field that is growing in strength. And when it grows in strength so much that it connects with the earth, the thunder strikes. But I digress. That is for another episode. We are talking about Hermetics here. So really what Hermeticism is transformation of soul. They are talking about our self, our inner self. What should we strive to? Because this teaching dates to the ancient Egyptians. You can see here an Egyptian. Basically, that's how we see it. So in the picture they show it comes from ancient Egypt. You see back in the picture the dog, behind the dog you see the Sphinx like mirror image, and you see the pyramids. So there is no confusion here. This teaching comes from Egypt or Mediterranean, because back in the day that was known as the world. Cultures did not mix all that much, and around Mediterranean, around Rome, ancient Rome, that was the world. Only later would Chinese find the European side and African side and so on. But nonetheless, they knew that the earth is a globe. There is no doubt about it, because in the pyramid itself it is encoded. The geometry is there to show us the positions of the planets. The position of pyramids is also the position of it's like stars of the Orion belt. They knew a lot, and it's hard to think about this. But today we have polluted skies, we have artificial light, and our skies are not the skies that they saw. They saw different kind of sky. Who knows? Maybe some even say that there were two suns, that the planets were not in the order that we see them today. There is all kinds of discussions, but it's all without proof. So let us go over this again so that we can dive deep into it. In ancient Egypt, there was a pharaoh. Pharaoh practiced religion and peasants practiced religion. What peasants practiced was not what pharaohs practiced. Pharaoh was a figure, he was not a king, because we look we look back into it from the Middle Ages, from the ages of the king, and we see the Pharaoh as the king. But Pharaoh is not a king. Pharaoh is the best human being possible. That was his purpose. He had all kinds of helpers to make him achieve what should be achieved. And anyone could challenge this pharaoh and say, I'm smarter. So Pharaoh would answer the challenge. But you must understand, this challenge is to the death. Uh, One of those two must die. So basically, they have a cult of Pharaoh where they have people working for him, close to him, when he sleeps, when he's awake. When he dies, they die with them, they die with him. They It was found later that they took poison, but not any kind of poison. They took what we today call, when you go to surgery, they inject you with a drug so that you don't feel anything. I can't remember how you call it in English, but basically they didn't feel anything, and Egyptians had it. They had a poison that you take, you don't feel any pain, anything, and you die. And every single pharaoh's subject that was working for him, not only for him, but to make him. He was a part of him. He has men who trained him in combat, in arts, in physics, in metaphysics, in astrology, in a lot of things. And if I would to speculate how much people that was, it's probably around 5,000 people or around working for the pharaoh, and they would all die when pharaoh dies. Pharaoh, hence, is not this figure of a king who reigns and eats and makes war on other people and steal. No, the pharaoh is not that kind of a guy. Pharaoh is a secular figure in terms that he rules the country, but he is also the highest religious figure with the highest knowledge. If this will amaze some people, but if a pharaoh would step out with a right leg, he would be killed instantly, because that is a mistake. You step out with left leg, always left leg. And if you watch politicians today, they all do that. Those that are on high places, they always, if they are in a line and they step out, they always step out with left leg first. because the right leg is stronger and more balanced, because we are right-handed and right-legged. So we step out with left leg. I tell you this just to engrave in your mind a kind of a mindset that they had. It was perfection. This man must be perfection, must be a best man on earth, because the God made humans by his image, even by today's standards and Bible. And the Hermetics is all about how to be the best possible man, how to be that man. And there are lots of teachings about that. It's a long story, but basically, a lot of people wanted to be a pharaoh. It was not a bloodline like kings and queens of the Middle Ages, the bloodline. It's so disgusting. They would go and take some gold to Vatican, and they would invent them the historical lineage, like they are uh, of some higher breed than the rest of us. That type of thing did not exist in Egypt. So basically, anyone outsider who would come to Egypt, he cannot be a pharaoh because he was not taught how to be a pharaoh and what pharaoh is. He would only be a ruler. He can take the land, but they couldn't take the land. No one took the land from pharaohs. And the last pharaoh, that was indeed a pharaoh, was Alexander the Great. He conquered all of the world before his 30s. He went so far, only thing that stopped him is his own people that wanted to go home. That is only thing that stopped him. And in his journeys he came to Egypt, and when he came, they instantly recognized that this man is learned, he is of a great stature, he's a great man, and they crowned him a pharaoh. Without a battle, there was no battle. Alexander the Great was a pharaoh, the last one, and he did not do it by force. They basically gave the title to him because he showed that he is the best human in the world. He conquered everyone, brought knowledge to a lot of places. He was, as a boy, taught in these arcane skills and mastery of occult and spiritualism. So there was no problem in him being a pharaoh because he is already raised like that. From the young boy, he is raised like that. So he could be a pharaoh in Egypt, even though he was not from Egypt. He was from Macedon, that is across Adriatic Sea. But I digress. I hope I have painted you a picture of ancient Egypt. It was a place where spirituality and the physical realm were in connection and balance, and it was a highly moral place of teaching. So, that is why we have Hermetics. But it was all left in Alexandria. And when the Alexander the Great turned back because his men couldn't take it anymore, they camped somewhere around modern Iraq or around, and basically evil men poisoned him. Simple as that. Evil, evil men that didn't know what is good and what is bad. They saw in him a power they cannot stop. So basically, they killed him, and after they killed him, everything broke. Egypt was gone. There were wars, massacres, diseases. All of the ancient world fell apart. It was a God's punishment for what they did. They killed a best man on the planet of the earth. But we are talking about the Mediterranean or European and African part. Americas were not in that, and China was not in that. India somewhat was, and in India they practice Vedic knowledge. Vedic knowledge has great connection with Hermetics because they literally say they have Brahmins there, and you ask them, where did you get your knowledge from? They say, from the white guy. From the white guy. From the European. And you see here, the pharaoh is white. And basically, we cannot know, but probably before Arabs entered into the northern Africa, there were white people there. So they killed the last pharaoh, Alexander the Great, and later, not much later, they burned the Alexandria. So we don't have anything from that ancient knowledge, and it was all about transforming one man, yourself. It's like alchemy. Alchemy also came from that, like turning something into gold. That is basically a spiritual journey one takes when he defeats the desire in him and becomes holy. His heart becomes golden. It's transmutation of the spirit, of the mind. So let us go back to the image and cover something we didn't cover in the last episode. So, in the last episode, I told you that the dragon beneath is desire. Behind the pyramids in Egypt is the Sphinx, and it's a lion. Some stupid guy carved his face on it, but it was a lion. It's a lion. Do you know what lion does? Lion does not hunt. Females hunt, and they only eat, and they go under the tree and sleep. Basically, and when it's time to have little lions, they do their thing, you know. They have their harems, couple of females, 5 or 6, I don't know. They don't work, they just eat and sleep. That is desire. That is what you become if you let your desire take over you. you become this lion. He is not fit for anything. He cannot achieve anything. Not in a spiritual plane, not in a physical plane. Basically, you lost it all. The point of it was in ancient Egypt, the Sphinx. When the Pharaoh died, they would take everything from his body except the heart. And he must leave everything on this world because he can't take anything on the other world when he dies. So basically, that is what Sphinx represents: the desire, the letting go, the uplifting of your spirit, battling with desire. That is this dragon. Later to be found in many religions. You have it in China, you have it in Europe as well. They all have different names and people sometimes confuse them. Sometimes you have to look at the big picture. But the Sphinx was the representation of that lion and desire for earthly things that you must leave before you go to the other world when you die. That is why modern scholars think that under the Sphinx there is something, and they scanned it and they think there is something there. They think that pharaohs basically took what they had and gave it to Sphinx to purify their hearts before going on the other world. So they want to. It's amazing. They want gold basically. They want to find gold, ancient treasure, to get rich in exact place that represents leaving of all of that, not becoming a dog that takes everything. But that is how things work. So they placed a dog here. You must remember, this is Middle Ages. If they find you with this, Christians will kill you. They will tell you you are a witch, you are a shaman, you are a God knows what, and they will kill you. Because, even Buddhists who claim to be pacifists, that they don't, they only nurture love. Well, there is something to be said about them as well. Because in Tibetan plateau, the original native religion was not Buddhism. Buddhism came later. The original religion of the on the Tibetan plateau was called Bon, and you can Google it and find it. You will see that it is some kind of shamanistic religion, something where they had many gods. They took some aspects of God and gave it to some animal to represent it, and all kinds of ideas. And just like we see here, everything we see on this image does not mean what it is drawn. It has its hidden meaning because it had to be hidden. Tibetans didn't hide it, and basically Buddhists came and killed them all. They burned them in the temples. Today, when China is playing rough with Buddhism on the Tibetan plateau, today they say, oh, we want peace. Dalai Lama says if Buddhism was to be a, if Buddhism were the religion of the world, there would not be war anywhere, there would be love only. Lies, lies. They killed people like ants, all just like Christians did. They did it, Islam did it as well, they still do it. All these organized religions do it. But in ancient Egypt, it was not religion. There was no difference between religion and science. All of it was one. Spiritualism and matter were one. So they strive to live like gods. For example, simple example, eat only to survive. Not Do not eat like liar and not even hunt your prey and then eat until you fall asleep and sleep for 3 days. There is a funny story about eating in Africa. It is also from Egypt. They say the beetle, the bug that pushes the manure in the desert, that God saw man who eat every day and excrement feces all over the place, and they live very badly. So he calls this bug, and the bug flies to the heaven. And the God says to the bug, tell those men below that they eat every 3 days. Every 3 days. And modern science confirmed that it takes 3 days for whatever you have eaten to go through your system. And the bug came back, but it confused and came back confused and said to the man to eat 3 times a day. So we today eat 3 times a day, when we should eat once in 3 days, because that is how long it takes for the food to enter through the mouth and exit from you know where. That's how long it takes, give or take, depending on your metabolism. Funny story. But let's come back to this image. As I said in previous episode, this dragon represents that desire to eat, to do whatever, to buy cars, to whatever you desire. You must battle it. If you want to be enlightened, you must battle it. It can never be defeated because that is you. It is in you. You can't kill yourself. In Buddhism, they say Buddha sat under the tree to kill the dragon, the beast, and he did it. Well, they lie. We already established they lie. They kill. They do all kinds of things. Also have good things in their religion, as every religion has good things. It's not all bad, but in this case they lied. You cannot slay this animal inside of you because you are made of earth. You are not a spirit, so you cannot be pure. You always have this animal attacking you, but you can subdue that desire. And that is what this dragon means. It constantly attacking you, but you must basically defeat it every time it attacks you. I want a car, no, don't buy the one they want to sell you. Buy one that you need. If you eat, eat what you need to eat. If you do whatever, do what must be done and not over it. Tesla was famous for on this because he ate only what he needed to survive, not more, not less. And housekeepers of his were very angry with him, and he changed them a lot because they couldn't figure out what is he doing, measuring the food before he eats it. They couldn't figure out that. But he was measuring how much he eats, not to eat more than he needs. Because if he eats more than he needs, then his organism will need more energy to digest it, leaving him with less energy for his inventions. Man could not, go and work for 3 or 4 days not sleeping. You know, you can do that when you are enlightened. You can stay awake for 7 days. Buddhists practice that. They enter a state where they are not sleeping but are not awake as well. They are in the middle world and they stay there for 7 days if needed. The old ones, I saw them, they were like always in that state. But they probably sleep sometimes. You have to sleep sometimes, as they say. When you are awake, your body is awake. When you are asleep, your soul is awake. When you are awake, your soul sleeps. Or spirit, basically. So we covered the bottom. So let us in this picture go up. Next thing up is this dog. The dog is another representation of the Sphinx as a mirror image and basically means again desire. So we don't have to cover that anymore. We covered it. Maybe we should speak about these serpents. I don't know if you are, if you know Victor Schauberger and what he did. He was a scientist. He worked with water and he saw some behavior in water. He saw a vortex-like behavior in water and tried to make machines that would pump water without need of any energy, and some say that he did that. But what is certainly true is that every flow of water is in a spiral. There is no other flow of water than a spiral. And we see here these snakes, this is a spiral. It's below the wings because this happens on a less than divine or godly plane. God is above that, but this earth is not. It's kind of in the middle. Every energy is flowing in a spiral. Our DNA is a spiral. So some say that twisted snakes that go in a spiral, and even to this day, it's a symbol for medicine. But it is that, but it's much more than that. It's it's about energy. You probably heard about Chinese acupuncture, where they would stab you with needles in specific places to release energy or not stab the place. They would use these pins and basically hundreds of them on specific places. I think I saw there is a 20 or 30 of them only on the ear. So to make the energies in you flow faster, or if there is a blockage, to release it, because energy must flow. If it doesn't flow, bad things will happen. You know, if you have a river and it flows and it stops, you get a flood. Bad things happen. You need to flow. Everything needs to flow. Even the earth needs to rotate and flow around the sun. Everything needs to flow. So basically, that is what this means. Before we had pills and all that, medicine was looked, as I said, as the flow of energies. They would, Egyptians even had the chambers. You can find them online. They are so polished that it is like glass, but there is nothing in them. And they don't know what is it used for. Well, it is used for sound. It's a sound amplification device, and even Egyptians used it. It can be found in Egypt as well, where they would put you in a chamber, and the doctor, or however they would call him, he would examine you. There was absolute silence, and he would hear flow of your blood, your heart, everything. We have something like that. It's called anechoic chamber, where they design speakers and other things. There is a panic button in there because people start hearing their bones, their hearts, their all kinds of stuff, and they panic because they never heard it. And there is a panic button so that they can let you out. And of course, Egyptians knew this and practiced this. They would put you in a chamber and basically test your body, see if there is any disease or some kind of blockage of energy or anything like that. So basically, that is what snakes mean, and the wings are a symbol that if you get this flow perfect, you will get enlightened, you will feel lighter, you will walk like you will feel a lot lighter, like walking on like Jesus walked on water. He was so light, he could walk on water. Basically, that is what it means. And In the last episode, I covered the green stone in the right hand. It is a philosopher's stone, and basically there is not much to say about that except that it's concrete, but it can be viewed as an idea, as knowledge, as mind over matter, and all that kind of stuff, because knowledge brings you all of this below and to the right and above. These snakes, healing, everything, all is knowledge. So basically, philosopher's stone means that, but it is actually concrete. In this image, it means concrete because this is not a hermetic image. We have nothing on Hermetics, nothing. Nothing survived. They burned everything. The church, the Vatican, they burned everything. Maybe they took something and took it to their libraries, but we do not have access to it, and basically to us it's not in existence. We have nothing but spoken word, but it was enough to collect something, because there is a lot of people and a lot of people speak. And the last picture is the one above the green stone. It's a circle divided in two, green and white. It's a yin and yang symbol, of course. Everything has its opposites. And we have a bird, also I spoke of it in last episode. You can see it standing on one leg, and this is actually uh, same as the DNA, same as these snakes, same as in vortex in the middle of the river. Every river has a vortex in it, and Victor Schauberger used it to, if there is an area that is flooding, he would put stones to make this vortex stronger, and when vortex is stronger, the river flows faster, and he literally saves the people or the village from floods just by putting stones in certain places in the river, you know. And the exactly opposite, if there is a need for water in some village, he would put stones to opposite of this vortex and slow down the river and bring more water. So this bird on one leg represents the flow of energy, any kind of energy, and it is always in a spiral. So it is one leg. That's how it is. Our DNA. I even took a telescope and looked at the night sky, and I saw stars that are going in a spiral, like on a string. Stars on a string, one after the other, like in specific places, the distances between them being the same, one being slightly up, one down, one up, one down, one up, one down, and string like that. I even saw a double pyramid made of stars in the sky, and I have a picture of that, but that will come later as we go on to gravity and a lot of other stuff that will blow your mind. You won't believe it, but if you don't believe it, it's on you. I mean, if you don't want to take knowledge, then don't take it. So until the next episode, take care. If you can subscribe and support the channel, I will leave a direct PayPal link in the video description. Thank you.